I'm sure some of you have already seen this.
Hey guys, heads up, here we go.
Some of y'all have already seen a couple of the lapel chokes from attacking the back position on the turtle. Sorry, attacking turtle that I'll do. But what we're going to focus on basically is the clock choke and the little different options and variations of finishing it and anchors of the clock choke. Basically, what the clock choke is getting this hand, the hand closest to his head, is always going to be the same. You reach in with this hand, you ideally open up this lapel for this grip, and this is where you start with that grip and that with this weight on his back. And the clock, it's the reason why it's called a clock is because your body's moving like a clock around to finish it. But we're going to go with the basics first by getting this grip and trying to prevent him from bench pressing himself up like that. We're going to try to grab with this other hand this wrist and take it away from him and hold it down like that. Now you got your two grips you're looking for. You want to finish. You can do two different finishing maneuvers kind of with your body. As you come in, you can either hip out by keeping that weight on and you're just doing what we were doing earlier, that break dance, and you're just holding that anchor and keeping that weight on his back, on his, right here on his shoulder and his top of his neck, and then break dancing on him and keeping. And then the other finishing option was getting your two grips and your. This is all preference. The two different options: one, your head's up, and the other, your head goes down. So the second one with your head down, you're basically just taking your ribs and sliding them up and putting your head down, and you're not going upside down like that. Y'all see the two different finishes? Okay, makes sense. So let's stop with that. Y'all go ahead and try that first.
Matt, can you show the grips real quick?
The first one is
Can you do it while like you're up?
Like I'm up here, show them from here.
oh yeah,
What you
okay,
grab.
so what you're looking for is this across, and the only way you usually get it is if you open up and feed your hand in and get your good anchor, and then just turn your hand upside down and grab it, or right side up rather, and grab his wrist. This is the basic, just beginning of a really basic clock choke. Then from there you get to choose between the break dance, hip out, or head to the mat and ribs over his neck. And the clock comes into play right then, where you bring in your hips and legs around like a clock, and that brings your wrist up into his neck.
So one point to add is that when Matt's here, what do we look for when we're doing a good collar choke? What do we need? We need connection. The deeper you get, the more connection you get, the better, right? Makes for a tighter, stronger, faster choke. Some scenarios, if you play around trying to get a deep, super deep tag connection, especially in the clock choke, you're kind of showing your hand and they know what's happening, right? Get down for a second, Matt. So if I come in here and Matt's here and I come in and I go for this, Matt's not just gonna allow me to open this up and keep coming in and getting this super deep choke, right? What's more important is the connection. So if you're in a scenario where you're doing this choke and I just need to come across, if I can come across and get my thumb in and I'm open, boom, I'm here. Remember, we can always do this to make more connection, but once we get here, boom, I've got the connection. I feel that. You feel me curve the curve of my wrist? The curve of my wrist here is right across here for me. If you're too low and you try to do these chokes, and I try to come here and I try to, boom, Matt's gonna tuck his chin, he's gonna turn his head towards me, and it's out, right? So you do need it deep enough to where you can connect. I went up probably about an inch. Now go ahead, as I come here, turn your head to get out. My wrist, the difference was, first time his chin lifted and went around my wrist, second time his chin hit my wrist, okay? So you don't have to like be super deep. Get it? Right here, you should feel Adam's apples, necks, stuff like that, okay? Boom. That's about as deep as you need to get, right? Opening this up is important because when you grab this, it's okay, but when you grab like this, it's the best, okay? And the other hand, he was saying, you grab that wrist and you control it. Matt mentioned anchors. We're gonna go more into anchors because if you try to do this without anchors, let's go ahead, Matt, grab it, but don't anchor the other side. So he gets this choke, right? And let's say he goes to walk around and do this choke. Put the shoulder, yeah, go ahead and, well, even that one, yeah, you can throw it there. Throw it, and then walk up. There was nothing stopped me from rolling out of the choke, okay? We got an answer for that too. So you have to have the anchors. And when he says the basics, those are your two grips. You have to have an anchor and you have to have the choke. Get your choke, boom, and this hand's there. Grab that anchor.
The choking hand's gonna stay the same throughout all this stuff. This hand is always gonna be the same. This hand is what's gonna be changing around.
We'll be moving it.
And the two different options is hip up with the breakdance or head down on the ribs.
Yeah. When we talk about connection, what he's saying, watch what he's doing. Matt's putting his hip, his weight, whether it's his rib cage or his hip, but he's keeping weight. When we walk through this and do it, you're gonna get the feeling of it. Clock choke isn't used by a lot of people because it's a really finesse move. You gotta have a good understanding of your base and your weight distribution. If you give up any amount of space in this and the person's struggling for their life, if they understand they're being clock choked, they're gonna try to get out. So you kind of have to be patient, but you also have to understand keeping pressure on the person. You know what I mean? It's the difference between keeping that pressure, move it. If you want to get that grip a little deeper, right? You just want to get so deep they won't be able to get, and you loosen up your weight a little bit, they're gonna explode and get out of that. Okay? Just some thoughts as you guys are doing this. If you start having difficulty with it when you're drilling it, think about that. And we'll come around and help you guys, all right? Anything else you know? Not enough? All right, on 3, give it partners. 1, 2, 3.
So I'm turtling up, trying to take break. You keeping the weight, keep that like in that hole, like that, like you're kind of threatening something. And then first is opening. Okay, now you're, and then you turn the hand over and go. Now you're in the basic.
So hip out and then go. Hip out and then go.
Now you get your and break down with this leg going out. Then, or keeping your face forehead on that, sliding forward.
So what happens? You start clock around.
And this ankle on my wrist is preventing you from getting turned.
So what was split comes out more? Guys, slap that mat so that they can know you're tapping. Yes, loud taps. So you come in there, get that grip. Grab this wrist. Now, the way this one, the rib cage, this is around the rib cage. Slide your rib cage from here all the way up to the neck shoulder. Now, drop your forehead to the mat and start walking around. Walk.
Like you still have pressure in your chair.
Yeah. So it's more like this. Here. Here.
Slide forward, slide forward, clocking around, jump clocking around, not on your neck. Or slide forward, clock. Head to the mat.
Oh yeah, that one's cool.
Head down.
Like pressure, and then the first one is more choke.
Got it? Yeah. And it's good for you because it's a lot about pressure. So keeping that guy down. We're gonna go into this a little bit more.
Hey, Matt.
This is the basic.
Sorry to interrupt. The second one.
To the same effect that if we were
Oh, and then, okay.
So the clock is
You don't have to keep doing
Walking
it.
on your stomach and
What you will do is this.
It's
Bring
perfect.
your
You'll do
choking
that.
elbow up if you need to take the slack grip. Once you lock that in, you're not adjusting your grip. If you try to adjust any of your grips, you got it. Now you're gonna slide forward.
That's what you're really just
Right.
putting your weight on.
So you don't lift. Don't lift your elbow until you're at the point where you're like,
it's hard diagonal.
Did you feel pressure though in the on the second one?
turn your belly towards me.
It's more.
Now start walking. Keep it towards me. Walk until you touch me.
You think because we're light or no?
Now if you need to pull the elbow a little bit. How much
That
faster?
one?
Big difference. Huge difference. This isn't has nothing to do with weight or strength based. This is easy good.
I feel like if they were
You just start walking. And I would say,
Okay, yeah.
jump stops. Watch.
It is.
This
I
would
feel
be
like
how I
you
would do it.
It won't work without the
Let go and keep walking.
Oh, her aunt, yeah.
That does it. It teaches your
Anytime
body
I'm
muscle
trying to
memory
do anything, I'm doing that.
You're gonna want to. You're on the other
Doesn't
side.
matter if you're smaller.
Oh no, I'm more excited. I hear it. I like all stuff.
Let go and keep walking.
I'm so sad that
Do you do it on a bigger push? You can do it on a
yeah.
bigger push.
Well, we still have me on Friday. Yeah, I'll be there. I love you.
Do it again.
That's crazy because like most people, they'll start out and they're like, hey, I had like stars like success. Like, I came in, Yogi,
That spot was
like
like tap.
every week of feels whereas with this, I was like, get a good grip, and the highest.
They can
It's
try
all
to
about
test.
accepting, like, when people don't like you, it's like, they just don't accept it, having to learn how to get something. Like, it's like lasso guard, it's easy to be cool. Don't worry, everyone's gonna give it a good try, and something like, oh, and I'll be like, I'm like, is any of you guys gonna be here? I'll try to do this one. I think, I would like to see you. I had lots of that. I think you would do like, just start seeing like we did this.
You're gonna tighten this up.
You get the keynote free test. Yeah, that's pretty good. Only like 5 reps into it.
Now you're gonna dip your foot.
That can like
Don't face down, face down.
you get like
Walk your feet back.
You can do a whole roll of jump right on.
The lighting
But my weight. So it's not really out. It's just kind of thing, but you're just kind of. Switch it up a little bit, slide your rib cage. Not your hips. See how high your hips are? Let your rib cage slide down towards us. Just pull that pressure. Sorry, pressure. Oh, remember how I switched my hips a little bit in my left leg? So we're doing left leg. There you go. Now press it up. Put that left leg up. Down. Feel like pressure, TK. Alright. Now drop your hips down to your forehead and just start walking around. Keeping that pressure on. Now lift that elbow. They're finesse moves, so it takes you to get used to the position. It's all here. It's one of those moves that you can see, you're just like, this does not feel right. Or it's gonna put you in this pressure. Get that feeling. You wanna give it a try.
You know that.
Yeah, you know, it's struggling so hard.
Slide down, lift, yes, drop the hands in that hinge. The reason I show you lifting up that disc there is so that your body weight is not
We were three harder. As long as you keep this
surprised how much weight
on my neck. Bad news bears. If I can do this, I'm good. Fall down. Now, now it's good. I can set it on my neck.
foot out.
Or chill. I can take it. Grab it. And take it connect my head. You off.
Foot out.
You still have me in internal position. You can flap me out. You can break my pose.
This is there. That person's variations.
I do like that. Remember, I could remember that when you said it showed itself.
Ready? Oh yeah. Which ones are these? Now you doing? All right, guys.
All right, so we got the basics down. Y'all have the two options. Break hand, take the mat, ribs over the neck. Now we're gonna worry about anchors, which is this hand. So this hand's still the same. We open up our collar, we got our knee in, like we're attacking this turtle. And we get our grip. Starts here, we got our grip. And there, this hand, we just showed it going straight to this wrist. It can do a lot of things. It can go back to the far collar and do like a sliding, but like Eric just now did. Eric just spread his hands and started to pick himself up. That's not the grip you want on a big guy like Eric. You want to take that away. So it kind of depends on the scenario, but this grip is the same, stays the same. This hand now is either a sliding lapel grip, like what do you call it?
Yes. It's like a traditional cross collar from the back. You
Like
get your
that.
anchor.
You're pulling down and keeping the slack from coming out right here, see? And you can clock around like that. Or they have, some people will do like that spiral ride, and they clock around by just holding the hip. But that still to me is not really the way to go, because Eric can still turn in. But if he puts his leg up like that and you underhook that leg, what?
No, it's just weird. I'm just like, whoa.
All right. So the other option, like we just now said, was that hand in the hip like this, like you spiral riding, and you can finish by just using this hand here and not really putting it down here. I don't really see the reason to do that, other than preventing yourself from getting trapped.
Yeah, if you're concerned, what he's saying is concerned about putting your arm in, right?
Yeah,
because how many times have you ever put your arm in this deep and your opponent just goes like this and they roll it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you need to, let's say this, let's say Matt's here, he wants this wrist, but he knows if he reaches in, he's gone, right? I'm gonna grab him and roll, right? First thing. And he might not be set up in the choke. He can put his hand back there and do a cup on the hip, right? And if I go like this to catch it, I give it to him. And now he can move it forward, go ahead and slide it forward into position, and now he starts his clock choke. He's there now, right? Yeah? So it's a control. It's an intermediate control, the hand on the hip, going like this, right?
So you can always, we teach linear a lot of times, forward, 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 arm, bum, bum, bum. How many times have you done something in jiu-jitsu, it failed, but you could have gone back to a previous step and reset or been more successful? I tried the arm bar, it failed. I went for a triangle, it failed. I went back to the arm bar, I got it. You see what I mean? So what he's saying is here, boom, I open this up, but man, when I open this up, he reached back with his arm to trap my elbow, right? Oh man, he's going for my elbow, but he doesn't have it. So I'm here, oh man, I need to control. Look at that. When I grabbed his hip, and I'm kind of leaning this way a little bit, notice my hips aren't here, right? Because this will give it to him. I'm not up here yet because I'm not doing my choke. It's not fully set, I don't have an anchor. This, like Matt's saying, is an anchor, but it's not the one you want, okay? You want to be successful, get a better anchor. But if I'm here, he reaches back, boom, I can grab that. I can bring it down now. We can start to put a little more pressure to drop him, and we move into those first two finishes, okay? That's one of the anchors. And then if the guy lifts if he comes in for this cross lapel choke here, guys, the motion is gonna be the same as if you're behind them, and you go down, cross, and down, boom. The motion is the same, but you'll just drop your head and start walking as you go like this. Show 'em.
So you reach in, you open up, you get your first one, and whatever reason you don't grab that, you reach in and, or he tries to pull your hand in, now you got the two, my right arm is on his left lapel, pulling down, just like the,
It's fast. It is fast, because he's already applying the choke. It's a traditional choke from the back, but he's already got the connections being made and the choke is in there. And as he leans forward, there's no, in that scenario, man, you don't have to be fast and quick. You just let everything sink in and you just start slowly going. You don't even have to go fast, because this is here. Boom. I come in, I open this up, I get this connection, I get here. As soon as that happens, I'm gonna slide forward, I'm gonna start dipping my head. I'm not doing anything. I'm letting gravity lean me forward. And if I have to keep going and they're not tapping by that point, you start walking. But let me tell you, when you practice this, remember, because if you do some, they might not hear you, and it is fast. There'll be some snoring going on.
you ever seen somebody take a rope and wrap it around something, they put a bat or something in there and they twist the bat and that rope starts getting, that's what this is all about. Right, yeah, tourniquet.
That's a tourniquet for your neck. Yeah.
The other, and the last one was like, I just heard that Kenny Florian got put to sleep by this same thing, except the dude, Kenny Florian picked his leg up like that. And then the guy reached in like this and finished like that.
Guys, don't put your leg up.
So that's the different,
Try not to.
so-
No, I'm just saying,
Oh.
that is terrible.
so
Practice it
that's
so you
your
know what it
different
feels like.
anchors. You got the wrist, you got the lapel, you got
The leg.
the hip, and on the hook in the leg.
Remember, hip, temporary. I wouldn't rely on the hip as an anchor to finish the clock choke, right?
And
The last one.
the last one is,
So the last one is this. If those of you who were here from the last couple weeks and I went over the crucifix position, right? We're gonna tie these together. So there's a clock choke variation where you bring your elbow to the same side of the head. And we showed that earlier where Matt didn't have an anchor, but he brought the elbow to the same side head. If you don't have an anchor, he simply just rolls out of it, right? Yeah. We're gonna anchor it down using the crucifix setup. So we come in, right? And we've got pressure here. When I put my pressure on Matt, right? I'm not doing this. Because all he has to do is just straighten out his left leg. If he can just straighten that left leg out, nothing for me to roll over. Come in with my knee, and I sit down on my butt, and I'm putting pressure, everything this side of his spine. I'm sitting here, right? So that I can easily come in and open up, but if he straightens his leg out, see? So I come in here and I'm setting this up for whatever reason, and I shoot my knee in, and I have enough space here that I can get there, right? Maybe I'm reaching for this or whatever, and he's trying not to. Notice when he throws his arm out, it opens this up a little more. I come in and I scoop it here. Now, here,
I couldn't turn, I can't turn once he traps an arm.
and let's say, we'll get here, go easy on this. See, open up. Let's say I'm just here, and he tries to roll me. Let's say he just tries to drop that left arm. Yeah. Becomes this motion, a crunch. You will lift, but it's easy, it's better to crunch because that applies way more pressure down on that side. And if you don't feel like the clock choke is your jam, you can, at that point in the crucifix, start working the crucifix setup, okay? Hooking that other arm, playing with some different chokes. It's a good segue, it's a good way to control somebody, okay? It's like a double threat scenario. Once you're in that position, it's tough for you, unless the person's very versed in escaping all that, you're in a really good spot. All right, any questions? All right, on three, let's get our parts. 1, 2, 3. Get the collar first, because his hands are going to start fighting.
All right, so
Yeah, and it
I
usually
can't
gives
get
it
this,
to you.
and then I'm gonna.
So if you can, it's in the wrist. More at the wrist. Yeah, more control, more leverage. Unless you want it. It's up to you. So you were just working your anchors. So let's say he broke that free. Now reach across to the other collar. Just reach straight in, grab that other one. Now what I want you to do is do like, remember you slid the rib cage to the chest and drop your head to the mat. So yeah, cup it, like the look. Yeah, like that. So once he does that, you can grab it. Bring the leg up. Huh? Hook it, hold close, and then start just belly out. Yeah. Okay. It is terrible. Show him, man. You know what? So, let's say, what's our scenario? Let's say she, I'm saying this, pull your elbow back.
That was tight, quick.
Big guy.
Across the ring line. The line got my side. So here this side has to stay around the wrist, whatever. Shoot that knee with your right foot through left knee. Shoot that way. Now try that. I think you can that's behind back.
That was a lot quicker. I barely dropped my elbow into that one.
Working like that, I say it's better to work that scenario. I could time individually, that's fine, but you work it in a scenario, go, I lost the thread. She'll roll. She was back, I grasp it. Oh, she breaks the thread to the other one. Oh, that one's not working. Yeah, that was actually really. Just do crucifix, same side. One scenario where you can't work the thing. That's not part of itself. I'll walk you through it. Alright, so you get the grip, first grip. She tried to reach back and grab it. Oh, yeah. Take your right arm back, that's not gonna trap. Just try to trap her. Yes, you bring it to the upper hip, hold it close to the elbow. She reaches back to grab it, and grab it. So bring it to grab it. Try to grab it with that grip, that over. Collapse it. Roll. Any important step, you get it, right? So then she moves up.
I didn't expect to get that quick. Really just the elbow.
So you reach across
Almost
the
have a point of control off me.
Once you grab that elbow belt, start sliding to her head and drop your elbow and start walking right on. Alright.
Grab that from that lapel.
Now,
From there.
is this. You're here, you slide that knee in, and you slide in.
I like that leg one, that leg one's funny. That whenever one person, I think that whenever I got he always gets he'll do that, he'll get out, and I never know when to try.
this is nice. Now you're getting caught. Until your belly's getting down. Really all elbow. Yeah. This elbow. Yeah, you get forward. Basically, that's what I imagine. If I'm making a move back, right, you're letting up the. You got this. And you guys just practice all. So you get the grip. And Melissa brings her left leg out and up, your foot on your shoulder. Underneath, so big, now start walking out. I told you.
I didn't think it would be long enough, but I guess they give it to
But
you.
if it's right there, I'll shoot it in. You can say, look, here, I can
It's
grab
pretty,
it.
like, just have a lot of.
Yeah, we know it's like something. We try to get it's like, or you have to know, once I have this arm. Now, like, just elbow there, maybe able to move my leg.
I was dropping. I wasn't making it.
And then it's like, you have to talk to whenever I hit someone with a ball, and you can roll my head. I didn't even know they did. One time, I feel like I'm in, go back and sit back and hit you. Wait, lay down. So, just on your back. So, about maybe.
Like this. Yeah, now you're like that.
But you got them going.
Yeah. I'm just like, too many wrestlers though that you guys good? You had any jacket, like pants? I'll tear no, we have a sweatshirt, like a hoodie, like the
I got it. So, can you show us real quick? So, he's down. Get your grips. So, you're going to bring this foot next to the plate here. Yes. Now take your right arm and just go under here. Now start walking. That's terrible. That's bad. I could imagine seeing like so TK, bring your left leg out, take your hand, bring it up, keys right like that. Now just start walking. You'll lose your position. They bring that leg up because they're super flexible. You're bringing that up to apply pressure. You can smooth that leg. Error.
One last real quick little sprinkle. We just wanted to show something that was look cool, you know. And I've showed it before. I don't remember who saw it. It's the same crap. You reach in, get your grip, and my old coach called this the helicopter grip. So you like this, and you kind of pop up. You use keeping that pressure on. This time you gotta pop up. Pop yourself up enough where you get this foot around like that. And then you reach in and fall off the other side. Yeah, it's called the because your leg, if you had a flexible leg and you could make it look like a helicopter blade instead of a whatever that is, and you can swing it around. It's like the helicopter blade.
It's also a good, it's something you can use. Let's say you're trying to do the clock choke and you royally screwed it up and you don't remember which hand to put where, what to do with anything. I don't know what's happening, coach. I just don't want to die because I'm really trying to murder this person. If they get on top of me, I know they're going to kill me. And you're getting here and you're trying to do all this clock choking stuff and you're here and it's just not working and you got good pressure. Bring your forearm on top, swing it. The reason why I say bring your forearm on top, guys, if I put my hand on there, I don't know if it applies the same amount of pressure. You see what I mean? If I'm here trying this and I come here, it doesn't feel like I feel like I'm pushing down to apply the pressure. If I do this, I lean in on it, right? And you do have to move your hips. So you'll have to square, change your pressure for a second, and you're just gonna pop up, bringing it all the way over. When I do that, I like to make this the goal for my leg. I don't want to put it on him, I want to put it on my forearm. Sometimes having a goal or target to shoot for helps you, right? So if I come in, boom, I wasn't even close to his head. Now I'm gonna dive forward this way and finish. You can press. I don't necessarily scoop his arm up behind my head. I just get over his shoulder and press. Usually that's enough, but it is fancy. And that is one of those that you can do. It's easier to do it from your feet. I don't understand where you would find yourself on your feet while the person's turtled down, but if you do. All right, so any questions about any of it? We'll go ahead and stand up and bow out and get rolling. 1, 2, 3.